everybody. How are you doing this fine Tuesday? I am doing quite well, except a little jet lagged, and I am trying to catch up on all these cases. So, the most recent video I made was yesterday. I went live about Wendy Williams, and there was some breaking news going on. Even during that live, there was more breaking news that we broke. Well, TMZ broke, but then, I read it. No pun intended, read it. Anyway, okay, so there was a lot of talk yesterday about Wendy Williams and in particular about her mental medical capacity. Yesterday, we learned from TMZ that apparently Wendy Williams's guardianship, or her guardian, maybe in particular, are under investigation by at least two different New York authorities. One authority would be the NYPD, and the other authority is the New York Adult Protective Services. And apparently, it's for elder abuse or something like that. Okay. So the news that broke during the live stream yesterday was that Wendy had been picked up from her luxury prison, as she defines it, and, the care facility, the memory unit that she's staying in, and all that. And Wendy had been brought to a hospital and evaluated. During the live stream yesterday, the news broke from TMZ, which, consider the source, that Wendy passed the evaluation with flying colors. Apparently, there's 10 questions that someone has to answer, rather, that will help in determining whether that person does have capacity to function out here in the world or whatever. As it says down below, I'm not a doctor. I'm just kind of reiterating what was discussed and what we read from the TMZ article yesterday. If y'all want to go and familiarize yourself with that, please do check out the Wendy Williams playlist. So in that live stream, I did discuss how a lot of this stuff pertains to and relates to some ongoing legal battles between all these parties. One such legal battle is taking place in the guardianship court, the probate court, and that is in New York. But all those documents are sealed from the public. Now, they were not sealed from the public originally, but once we started to report, we meaning YouTubers, started to read these documents and report on them, then all of a sudden they were hidden from the public. There's another series of legal battles going on, which have to do with the A&E Where's Wendy Williams documentary series. There's several lawsuits because it's Sabrina, as the guardian of Wendy, bringing a lawsuit for Wendy Williams on behalf of Wendy Williams, suing A&E, suing some other production company, Creature Films or something. But then there's also a countersuit from A&E and them suing Sabrina. So there's a lot of back and forth going on having to do with the docuseries. There's also back and forth going on having to do with the guardianship itself. Okay, so two courts are kind of having them hash it out over here. It's the guardianship court and the court having to do with the docu-series. So I want to show y'all the docket. This is the docket for the one having to do with the docu-series. As you can see at the top here, it is Sabrina Morrissey versus A&E Television Networks LLC et al. That means, all the people, all of the people that she's suing. The plaintiff is Sabrina Morrissey. Look at all the attorneys that are representing Sabrina Morrissey. And look, acting in her capacity as guardian of Wendy Williams. So it doesn't say acting in capacity for herself. No. Acting in her capacity as guardian of Wendy. She's suing A&E, Television, Entertainment One, Lifetime Entertainment, Creature Films, Mark Ford, and then they're suing her, Sabrina, and these are the counterclaimants, the counter plaintiffs. So there were a few things that were filed that were very important over the last 2 months or so, or really month or so. And these issues are interesting to me specifically because they relate directly to the news we got yesterday about Wendy Williams doing this capacity evaluation. So I just want to briefly bring to your attention 3 documents, maybe 4. 3, we'll start with 3 documents. We're not going to read through them all, but I want to bring them to your attention, having to do with this case, having to do with Wendy Williams's statements public statements about her guardianship, about this lawsuit, stuff like that. We're going to start with docket 55. Now, this was filed over a month ago. This one's 3 pages long, and it was filed by Sabrina Morrissey right around the time that Wendy Williams was going on The Breakfast Club to make a bunch of statements. Okay. So Sabrina, as represented by Roberta Kaplan, she brings forward the Breakfast Club interview, or at least one of the Breakfast Club interviews. And this speaks directly to a question that one of y'all did ask yesterday in the live, or maybe it was a statement that one of y'all made, that the reason that this is all finally getting looked into and the reason that Wendy might even possibly get justice now was specifically because Wendy had come out into the media and made such a splash, we'll say. And one of y'all had said, basically, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically one of y'all had said, like, okay, look, the gig is up. They already know they're busted. So it's all going to have to unravel anyway. So if they don't dismiss this, the public is going to increasingly get more and more upset, more and more mad, more and more take more and more issue with it. So I think actually this letter that we're looking at right here, 55, is speaking to that a little bit. Let me show you what I mean. This is only 3 pages long. It says, we write to you on the behalf of our client, Sabrina Morrissey, in her capacity as Wendy's guardian. Okay, so not in her capacity as her own self. No, no, no. In her capacity as Wendy's guardian. We want to address some statements that Wendy previously made. Again, this is over a month ago. This is February 5th. And these statements were made as reported in the media concerning both Wendy's own mental capacity and statements concerning this lawsuit. Okay, so Wendy had gone on Breakfast Club, and she had said, I don't have any issue with Lifetime or A&E, and I don't know why that woman is suing them on my behalf. She also made statements concerning her own mental health. The lawyer goes on, in these statements, Wendy has indicated that in her opinion, she's not suffering from dementia and she is not incapacitated. We are writing this letter today because during a radio interview this morning, Wendy discussed the A&E lawsuit at some length, and she appeared to indicate that she does not want to proceed with the lawsuit. So the lawyer for Sabrina, in my opinion, seemingly maybe trying to save face a little bit, says, to be clear, the whole point of the A&E lawsuit is to benefit Wendy and her estate. The Guardian, so that's Sabrina Morrissey, brought the A&E lawsuit for one reason: to recover substantial monetary damages for the benefit of Wendy, which could be used to help pay for Wendy's healthcare needs going forward. As set forth in the operative complaint, so like as we said in the complaint in the recent papers we filed, the Guardian's basis for bringing the A&E matter is the, quote, substantial evidence. So what is her basis for bringing this lawsuit? Her basis for suing A&E and Lifetime and all them on the behalf of Wendy? The basis apparently was the, quote, substantial evidence demonstrating Wendy's incapacity and lack of ability to consent to the Where is Wendy Williams production. That evidence includes, among other things, a formal diagnosis that Wendy has this FTD, the frontotemporal dementia. And she also has apparently a diagnosis of PPA, the primary progressive aphasia. Also, there is a judge, Judge Sokolov, who has found in the guardianship court that Wendy is legally incapacitated. To the extent that Wendy stated in the Breakfast Club interview on February 5th that Roberta Kaplan's legal fees are somehow depleting her estate, that is manifestly incorrect. Okay, so Wendy went on the Breakfast Club and said, this lawyer for the Guardian, the law firm is depleting my estate. They're basically draining my estate. And Roberta Kaplan says, no, 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 absolutely not. We are not doing any such a thing. And here is her evidence that they're not doing it. She said, not only will Sabrina Morrissey not receive any financial benefit from the A&E matter, which I think is a little bit suspicious and sneaky. Like, will Sabrina Morrissey receive like a percentage of the payout of the matter? Probably not. But if Sabrina is getting paid at all, it's coming from Wendy Williams's money. Okay. For her acting as Wendy Williams's guardian. I mean, Sabrina might be a bunch of people's conservator / guardian. Conservatorships and guardianships are the same thing. Sabrina might be receiving money from other people. But if Sabrina Morrissey is getting paid as a professional guardian, which is legal, which is normal, which is something that does happen for professional guardians, then the money would be coming from Wendy's estate. Okay. So if Sabrina is also paying for the lawsuit from Wendy's estate, then she is draining the money. Now, what Roberta Kaplan is saying is unless she wins money from A&E, she isn't getting paid. So that's good to know. I mean, I hope it's true. But this is a little bit of a sneaky way to put this, in my opinion, because if let's say if Wendy Williams' estate runs out of money, how is Sabrina going to be getting paid from Wendy's estate if there's no money in the estate? She wouldn't. Again, I mean, maybe Sabrina is volunteering pro bono to be Wendy Williams's guardian. To my understanding, that's not how that works. But if she's volunteering pro bono, then this isn't sneaky. But if she is, in fact, receiving some type of compensation, whether it be a salary, whether it be some type of monetary compensation for being Wendy's guardian, then it's my understanding. Again, I'm not there. I don't have access to the books, the records, but from what I understand, the money would be coming from Wendy's estate. So if there's no money left in the estate, Sabrina can't get paid. But if there is money in the estate, then she could get paid. So this, not only will the guardian not receive any financial benefit from the A&E matter, maybe she won't get a percentage or something. But if there's money in there for her to get paid her normal regular guardianship administration fee, it is actually money from this lawsuit, which would keep her afloat if the rest of the money. Y'all see what I'm saying? Maybe you don't see what I'm saying, but I know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so then Roberta said, we will not receive the law firm is not going to receive a penny unless or until they succeed in getting money from this A&E lawsuit. So the lawyer goes on, in light of the unusual circumstances present here, where Wendy Williams has now repeatedly stated publicly that she disagrees with the diagnosis, a symptom that is not uncommon for patients with her disorder. Okay, and look, they got a little footnote 5 here. You see footnote 5 right here? So it looks like they are citing to some kind of medical something, right? The lawyer is saying, Wendy claims she don't have this FTD, but it is a common symptom of FTD that you deny the FTD. And then she got footnote 5. Well, let's go to footnote 5. All it says is FTD-associated executive dysfunction also makes FTD patients particularly vulnerable to manipulation by third parties who may not necessarily have the patient's best interest at heart. So this is just musings of a lawyer. I mean, there's no citation to anything. So I don't know why they even put this in here if they were going to cite something. And they almost made it, in my opinion, it was a little misleading, in my opinion, because they made it seem like they were citing an authority. But they don't cite an authority. They're just blabbering, in my opinion. There's no medical authority here. And y'all see down there, it says, I'm not a doctor. So don't take my word for it. I'm waiting to hear from one. The letter goes on. The guardian believes it would be prudent for Wendy to undergo a new medical evaluation. Okay. So we have this letter all the way back February 5th, 2025, where Sabrina's lawyer is also saying Wendy needs to have a new medical evaluation. This will involve comprehensive neurological and psychological testing by a specialist in the field, the issue of whether Wendy has the capacity to assess what's in her own best interests, deserves a renewed careful consideration by qualified experts, and should not be left to the careless speculation in tabloids, radio, or on the internet. And you see my little note here. It says, then why do y'all, Sabrina, the guardian, and her lawyer, continuously rely on these same tabloids as somehow proof for Wendy's diagnosis? Even now, they continue as recently as like 2 weeks ago, they're still saying it was so obvious that Wendy Williams had frontotemporal dementia because Page Six and OK Magazine and People Magazine reported that the family had been informed of some type of dementia diagnosis. So they are relying on tabloids. But then they're like, it is careless for tabloids, radio, and the internet to speculate. It's like, so when y'all were, in my opinion, astroturfing, that was fine. Whenever they were reporting on Sabrina's side of things, that was fine. And it was so fine that she is relying on it and those tabloid reportings. Still, in her most recent complaint, she's still relying on Page Six, OK Magazine, People Magazine in hers. But but when other people are talking in the media, it's careless speculation. Okay. It's very hypocritical to me. So they want to stay the matter. Okay. So what they end up asking, what Sabrina Morrissey ends up asking here on the behalf of her lawyer is they end up asking for the judge to put a pause on the whole entire A&E lawsuit on both sides. And they also seem to be wanting to put a pause, or in legal terminology, a stay on the guardianship matter as well. Let me show you the most recent filing. It was literally exactly a week ago. This is docket number 65. It's only 2 pages long. And I just want y'all to take note of the timing here. Okay, this was filed, docket 65, in the Wendy Williams case pertaining to the A&E documentary Where is Wendy Williams? You see Sabrina Morrissey acting in capacity as guardian of Wendy, and then the A&E television network. So that's the lawsuit. We're still looking at the same one. Docket 65 filed March 4th, 2025. Okay, so today's March 11th. So this was exactly a week ago. And it's interesting to me because it exactly lines up with the big breaking news of yesterday, which is that Wendy not only got taken away from the luxury prison that Sabrina Morrissey has her put in, but she got evaluated for capacity. Evaluation was done just yesterday. It was reported in the news. I mean, I didn't watch it be done. The tabloids, again, we're just having to take the word of tabloids because they have the guardianship proceeding sealed from the public. Okay. So all we can do is take the tabloid. I wish we didn't have to. Y'all know that I advocate strongly and have for 5 years advocated strongly that guardianship proceedings should be open to the public, but nobody wants to listen to me, at least as of yet. So this timing is very interesting because look at what they were discussing. This is an order, as you can see, the order from the judge. On February 14th, plaintiff, that's Sabrina Morrissey up here, moved to stay or to pause the discovery in the action pending a renewed medical evaluation. Okay. So what was it pending? A renewed medical evaluation. In light of defendant's consent to a limited stay in the action, the court grants a 3-month stay of this case. The parties shall file a joint letter updating the court as the status of the evaluation no later than June 4th and advise the court of their positions. Okay, so this is going to be paused. The whole case is going to be paused, at least insofar as the discovery, the give me your communications, you give me the transcripts, you give me all that, depositions, all that. You can't do a deposition of somebody if their capacity is up for dispute. So the whole entire discovery process is now going to be put on hold. Now, this might sound familiar to the Justin Baldoni case to some of y'all because the same situation is going on over there, but not having to do with capacity. The New York Times got a grant of stay of discovery pending their motion to dismiss. So this is pretty routine. You can kind of put a pause on stuff, okay? But this is an order from the judge saying, yes, there's going to be a 3-month pause. So June 4th is 3 months from the date of this. Now, this was again filed on the 4th of this month. So this was a week ago. So now we have 2 months and 3 weeks or whatever left to go. And the parties are going to, on that 3-month deadline mark, they have to file a joint letter updating the court as to what was determined having to do with Wendy Williams's mental evaluation. Because look, Sabrina moved to pause the discovery pending a renewed medical evaluation. In light of the defendant's consent so the defendants did consent to a limited 3-month stay on the discovery. They did ask a bunch of requests. They had a bunch of requests having to do with the specifics of who was going to do the evaluation, how the evaluation findings were going to be used, stuff like that. But the judge decided to kick the can down the road as to addressing any of that. The judge not going to address any of that yet, but the judge leaves the door open to address it. So by that 3-month deadline, so like 2 months and 3 weeks or whatever, the parties are supposed to alert the judge as to Wendy Williams's capacity evaluation and advise the court at that time of the 2 different parties' positions whether they need to keep pausing the case or whether they can move forward. Should the parties require at that time court intervention as to the defendant's remaining requests? So the A&E and them had asked a bunch of stuff. They made a list. Number 3 was that the medical professional that was engaged to evaluate Wendy wasn't going to act as an expert witness in the case. Any report prepared by the evaluator wasn't supposed to be used as an expert witness report. And another one that the defendants wanted was that the results of the medical evaluation had to be discoverable once the discovery period was opened back up. The judge said, that's all cute and fine. I'm not going to decide on that right now. We're not even going to get into that. We're just putting a 3-month pause, and I don't want to be bothered for 3 months. Thank you. He says, though, defendants can renew these requests later at that time. In light of the court's decision to grant plaintiff's motion, that's Sabrina Morrissey's, then Sabrina's request for oral argument. So Sabrina had requested that they have like basically a little baby hearing on this where they come and do oral arguments, verbal arguments. The judge said, I'm denying that because there's no need to do it because yes, granted, we're going to have a stay. 3 months from now, we'll revisit all the remaining issues that y'all had. Again, this was filed March 4th. So I did just want to come here and let y'all know that the guardianship, that the lawsuit having to do with A&E, having to do with the Where is Wendy Williams litigation, having to do with whether Wendy has capacity, whether she has dementia. These are 2 different questions. These are things that are being litigated. These are things that are being hotly contested. So when you take that, and that was just a week ago that order was put in place, literally exactly 1 week ago today, then you look back from 1 week ago today, you look back to yesterday, and you see that precise exact issue was just now put out as breaking news to the public. Now, we could speculate as to why that is. It would truly just be speculating. I mean, there's really no way to know. But something that I do wonder is whether, just like how Sabrina Morrissey seemed to be using the media to her advantage, relying on OK Magazine, relying on Page 6 reports, relying on People Magazine reports about what was diagnosed and things like that, instead of relying on actual medical diagnoses, instead of relying on her own personal knowledge, she's relying on tabloids. I'm wondering if this isn't a good for the goose, good for the gander, media matters, astroturfing, PR. So now the defendants, which is like A&E and Lifetime, and them are now able to come around now and say, as reported exclusively by TMZ, Wendy actually does have capacity. Because at this point, Sabrina has really tied her fate to these tabloid media publications. I mean, it's very hypocritical to me that they are arguing out of the other side of their mouth on this February 5th letter to the judge, that all of a sudden now they're arguing it's irresponsible speculation or whatever they had said to rely on tabloid speculation, but they were doing precisely and exactly that thing. Again, I don't know. Maybe it's just a total coincidence. Just to remind y'all, Wendy was picked up yesterday because she had allegedly dropped a note out of the hotel, or excuse me, out of the luxury prison, memory care unit, wherever she's at, asking somebody to help her. The police came, picked her up, and took her away in an ambulance. It was reported that she was evaluated, and she made a 10 out of 10 on the evaluation. I just wanted to keep y'all abreast of what was going on and show you the actual court filings, because so many things get reported as hearsay speculation from a source close to the source or whatever, instead of just reading the court documents. Unfortunately, a lot of the court documents are relying on the same media speculation. And I really wish we, the people, could just see what's going on in the guardianship court, but it's all hidden from us in an utter lack of transparency and accountability. I do want to briefly mention before I go as well that the judge on the Wendy Williams guardianship, the one who made the incompetency finding, her name is Lisa Sokoloff. Lisa Sokoloff, when she was running as an incumbent, one of her platforms she ran on was that we need to increase judicial transparency. This Sokoloff. Let me show y'all that real quick. Because again, it's hypocrisy. In my opinion, okay? It is hypocrisy in my opinion. Here is an article. This one is from 2019. 16 judges gather for New York State Supreme Court candidate forum. Okay, so As a judge, Lisa Sokoloff has gone out of her way to help underrepresented minorities trying to break into law, trying to break into law. Okay, so that's her. She reiterates her commitment to diversity and inclusion. Again, this article is 5 or 6 years old. She says, quote, the first 2 out of 3 people I was able to hire when I was practicing were African American women. Both of those women became partners at law firms. One of them is making twice as much money as I do and paying it back. They also shared a desire for increased transparency. So the way they kind of write this is a little ambiguous, but the way I'm reading this ambiguous article is like they also shared a desire, shared meaning this is a desire they all share, the diversity and inclusion judges or whatever. Maybe they also shared, like reading it the other way, could be that Sabrina Kraus is one of the people that shared. But the way I'm reading this is coming right off of the Lisa Sokoloff quote. They, meaning the judges, also shared a desire for increased transparency. This other judge, Sabrina Kraus, claimed that she's published countless decisions for precisely this reason. Quote, during my 10 years in housing court, I published hundreds of decisions. I dare say that if you do any legal research on any area pertaining to tenant law, you will come up with one of my published decisions. I publish a lot because I think that transparency is critical to the public's confidence in the court system. One more time, transparency is critical to the public's confidence in the court system. You should know what we're doing, when we're doing it, and how we are ruling. I agree. So now I think it's time for Wendy Williams' guardianship docket to be reopened to the public and made public record, just exactly as it was when the case began. Okay. And another reason that I believe it should be open to the public is argued by Sabrina herself. This is docket number 58. And it occurs on page 13. This is Sabrina Morrissey has filed this. The public interest favors a stay. Wendy Williams has recently been making statements. This was filed on February 14th. This is the document upon which the judge did grant. The judge granted this document. Okay, again, this is the judge in the A&E matter. This is not the guardianship court. We can't see the guardianship court ruling, okay? But this is Sabrina Morrissey saying this. Wendy has recently been making statements in the media. They have been widely reported. This has created somewhat of a media storm and public debate about whether Wendy is incapacitated and whether she requires the care of a residential long-term care facility. I said, look, you see my little red right there. The same tabloid media Sabrina relied on to somehow prove Wendy's incapacity. Okay, inconsistent. Sabrina says this controversy, this public debate about Wendy's capacity, whose flames are fanned almost daily in the tabloid media, the public thus has an interest. This is Sabrina Morrissey has stated this, or through her lawyer. The public thus has an interest in receiving an answer to the questions that have been raised by the media in response to Wendy's statements, and a medical evaluation confirming Wendy's incapacity or contradicting her incapacity will assist in answering the public's expressed concern about what is best for Wendy. Okay, so right here, you're looking at it. Take your screenshot. Okay, I'm not the one who's saying it in these terms. Actually, I mean, I do agree with them. The public does have an interest in what the courts decided, why the courts decided it. Ms. Sokolov's own colleague on the DEI judge committee has also claimed that they care about transparency. Open up the docket. Sabrina even agrees. Apparently now, all of a sudden, Sabrina agrees now that the public has an interest in receiving the answer to this question. Okay. So it looks like I'm in agreement. The people put a 222 in the chat if you're in agreement. The lawyers are all seemingly in agreement that Wendy Williams' capacity declaration, capacity evaluation, and all of that needs to be public record. Yes, ma'am. And now, in fact, and indeed, it's been reported widely by TMZ yesterday. Thousands of people have already watched just my video alone. So yes, open up the docket. Comment, open up the docket. Comment, open up the docket in the comment section down below if you agree. That's all I really had for today. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation, and neither is reading the publicly filed court documents, girl. Love you, mean it. Okay, bye. Welcome to You come up in a fitting off of my knee, talking out the side of your neck like you're insane. Cortisol levels to the roof, inflame. Kids these days so shameless, selling out real friends for a paycheck. Mama didn't teach them no home training. Wanna be me so bad, but they failing. Step to the plate though, I'll take a challenger. I ain't scared of no low life scavenger. I should warn you though, if you haven't heard, I ain't no Colleen ukulele ballanger. Shots been fired, run and tell that. Say it to my face though, now behind my back. Won't be long till you share it in the group chat. And when I call you up, you're gonna backtrack. And you should've kept my name out your mouth.